everyone, and good morning. Is it afternoon yet? Is it maybe afternoon? Good afternoon. I'm City Council Member Keith Powers, Majority Leader of the City Council. Before I start, I want to just say a very quick happy birthday to my comms director, Isaac Andino. I want to say happy birthday to him. Okay. We have to start on a personal note. But now let's get down to business. I am glad to be joined here today by Manhattan Borough President Mark Levine and the Health Chair of the City Council, Lynn Schulman. Thank you both to them for their partnership on these bills and their leadership here today. We are here today to help New Yorkers breathe a little easier. And I know for most New Yorkers that's probably some good news. It's the most basic and constant thing we do, but we have learned recently and over the last few years we cannot take a breath of fresh air for granted, and that's why we are here today. Just a month ago, and we're still dealing with it, when the City Council had a hearing on this yesterday, wildfires hundreds of miles away turned our sky orange, and simply inhaling the air was equivalent of smoking a cigarette. Not surprisingly, we all sought refuge indoors, which makes sense since we spend about 90% of our time indoors as human beings. And now we know, and we are going to learn more through this package of legislation, that you cannot take indoor air for granted either. We often have no idea what's in the air that we're breathing, how clean is the air, how much particulate matter is in it, and has it been filtered for viruses or other things that could harm us. The pandemic also reminded us of the great risks airborne pathogens pose, and we discovered that air inside buildings, and especially in common areas, also posed a danger to us as well. That's why today, after lots of work and lots of discussions, we are introducing a package of legislation in the City Council to help address these bills. These bills, 4 of them, will accomplish the goals of positioning New York City as a national leader in monitoring indoor air quality and set us on path to clean and healthy air across all of our buildings. That sounds like a pretty good deal for New Yorkers, if you ask me. So I'll just give you a brief description of what those 4 bills do. Intro 1127, being introduced today, requires the Department of Education to update rules setting standards for indoor air quality in New York City public schools. It also requires the creation of a website providing real-time air quality in public schools across the city. And I want to point out that if you go to the Boston schools, their education website, you can see this right now. You can pull that data up right now, look at a school, and see what the air quality is like. That is a very easy and simple model for parents on any given day, or as they're choosing the school, to know exactly what the air quality is inside. And as legislators and people funding these schools every year, for us to be able to identify where there might be a need to update the air quality and update the infrastructure inside those schools. Intro 1130 will require the creation and updating of rules for city-owned buildings. We are standing inside a very big one right now. Our borough president has his office in here, and he doesn't know what the air he is breathing inside of his building. We hope it's okay. This will require municipal buildings to install air quality monitors in the common spaces of all city buildings, and clearly place them in the building common areas as well, and put them online. They will also release a yearly report at the end of every year on the indoor air quality. That means our city workers, and there's hundreds of thousands of them, will have a better understanding of what the air they're breathing is, and we once again will have the ability to make sure that they are safe by updating those buildings as needed. The last 2 bills, one is about commercial buildings requiring Department of Health to set up a 5-year pilot program to monitor air quality monitoring in commercial buildings. And we will welcome all buildings to join into that pilot program, of course, but buildings receiving any type of financial assistance or assistance from the city, including rezonings and land use actions, during the pilot will be required to participate in that 5-year program. That will mean that they will have easy to find and easy visible air quality monitors inside of those buildings, which will give us a better understanding of our commercial building air quality as well. And the last one is about residential buildings, requiring Department of Health to do a 5-year pilot, just like the commercial one, but to also monitor air quality in there as well. Those monitors will be installed in common spaces like lobbies and hallways and gyms and more, and also to do outreach to tenants as part of that. The data collected on all these will help us inform best practices, will help us create better standards and better enforcement, and to lead the way nationwide when it comes to improving air quality. And just on a note, outside of my notes, I believe very personally that this is an issue that nationwide we are ignoring, and that the last few years have taught us how important our air quality is outdoors. But as individuals spending so much time indoors, we have to start getting on top of this. I want to thank the chair of the health committee, and I want to thank the borough president for being leaders in this area, because I think at the end of this 5-year pilot, at the end of the process where we update the schools, we will find data that will really help inform us. But I think there will be concerning data about our quality in there, and we will have an opportunity right there to jump in and help New Yorkers. And what we're trying to strive to do every single day is to make New Yorkers safer and healthier, and I really believe firmly that these bills are going to put us on a path for a much healthier New York City. So I'm very excited to be introducing these bills in the City Council today, and I want to call out my partner in these bills, our Borough President, Mark Levine.
Thank you, Majority Leader Keith Powers. Thank you to the magnificent chair of the New York City Council Health Committee, my successor, who's far surpassed me, Chair Schulman. Great to have you here. Shout out to the interns at City Limits. Wow, you guys roll deep. Happy that you're here. There's great hope for the future of the New York City Press Corps. You know, it used to be that after major health crisis in this city, we would open up our buildings. That happened in the 1900s after tuberculosis. It happened big time after the flu pandemic of 1918. And then starting like about 50 years ago, we started to hermetically seal our buildings. I'm not really sure what the thinking was, but when COVID hit, man, did we pay a price for that. Because there was no way to provide the kind of circulation we needed to help protect the air we were breathing in the midst of that crisis. And it turns out that the air we're breathing inside buildings is about a lot more than just COVID. If people have allergies, sensitivities, other physical contaminants in the air, like what we were confronting in the wildfires, I might not be able to open the windows up on the 19th floor. They're pretty tightly sealed, but I felt the smoke from Canada inside my office that day. No filtration of that. And it turns out that there's a lot of research that people who are sitting in offices where they have good filtering and good air circulation and fresh air coming in, that they actually work better. You probably sense this intuitively, but there's research on this. So this is our moment to tackle this. This is our moment now to understand the quality of indoor air in schools, in offices, in homes, in public buildings. And what we're doing with this package of bills is a major first step, really putting us ahead of the whole country and beginning to measure things like air change, how often per hour the air circulates in and out of a room. That's a really important measure. To measure air temperature, humidity, presence of things like CO2 and other particulate contaminants. We can measure all these things. The technology is there. And by doing that, we're going to understand the risks, the shortcomings that we face in New York City. We know we have a lot of work to do. And I firmly believe that by collecting this data, we're going to set a course to establishing standards and improving the challenges that we face. And this will have national implications. We've actually had discussions with leaders in the White House. I've spoken personally to Dr. Ashish Jha, who until recently was the COVID czar, the pandemic response czar for the White House. And there's a lot of national investment in what we're doing in these bills because it will reverberate to other cities. So I'm incredibly excited about this legislation, excited about the partnership of Chair Schulman. Also, we have co-prime sponsorship from the chair of the Housing Committee, Priya Sanchez, chair of the Schools Committee from Rita Joseph, and chair of the Hospital Committee and Mercedes Narcisse. So,
she's across the street, right?
And she's on her way.
Yeah.
Great timing. So I'm thrilled with the leadership in the council. Welcome, Chair Narcisse. Great to have you here. And I would like to pass it off to the chair of the City Council Health Committee, our friend and amazing leader, Chair Schulman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I also want to welcome the interns. It's great to see you, and thank you so much for everything that you do, and you're going to be great moving forward and covering everything that goes on in the city. As was said, I'm chair of the Health Committee, but I'm also a member of what's called the Zoning and Franchise Committee. The main reason that's important is that all the developments that happen in this city go to that committee first, that subcommittee first. And so we will be able to talk to them and ask questions about what they're doing for air quality as part of these pieces of legislation. So this is really important. With more wildfires proliferating around the globe, we are faced with a new normal, guys, a new normal of dangerously unhealthy air quality. This poor air quality, as you heard, can contribute to adverse health effects, even for those considered reasonably healthy. Breathing in smoke from wildfires can have an immediate impact. I don't know about all of you, but when the sky turned orange, it was very hard for me to breathe. I was coughing, my eyes were irritated, and I'm reasonably healthy. Can you imagine some people who are not? So these series of bills are going to provide not just data, but information for people so they can make choices, so they can know what's going on in their environment. And that is just so important. I am so proud to join Borough President Mark Levine, who's an amazing Borough President. Even though I'm from Queens, he's an amazing Borough President. And Council Majority Leader Keith Powers in sponsoring this package of bills to educate the public, to get data, to be first in the nation to do this, because I will tell you these things are going to proliferate. And by the way, with climate changing, and everybody sees all of the heat domes across the country and across the globe, that's going to create more of an atmosphere that when these fires occur, that we're going to have more adverse effects. So I'm very happy about being a co-sponsor, a co-prime sponsor of these series of bills. And I want to make sure that all New Yorkers can breathe easier in the months and years to come. And this is just the first step, and I look forward to moving forward in the future with further steps so that we can be first not just in the country, but in the globe, to be on top of air quality and make sure that New Yorkers are safe and healthy. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. You want to introduce our chair?
Yeah, thank you. We're really glad to be joined as well as the chair of our Hospitals Committee in the City Council, and somebody who has been fighting alongside with us and one of the sponsors of our, I think, one of the first sponsors of our bills here. So glad to be joined. A very busy day. Glad to be joined by these two chairs. I want to call up my colleague, the chair of the Hospitals Committee, Mercedes Narcisse.
All right.
Hey.
Thank you, Manhattan Borough President. You're not my Brooklyn Borough President, but I appreciate you. It seems like I see more of you, right? Sometimes because I'm in Manhattan.
Yes,
and thank you for my colleagues, CM Powers, and of course Schulman. Thank you all for being here. Intern, welcome. I love to see young folks, beautiful faces. That's a start. To say that I'm a Mercedes Narcisse, I represent the 46th district, which cover from Canarsie, Flatland, Bergen Beach, Georgetown, Mill Basin, Mill Island, Marine Park, Garrison Beach, and Sunset Bay.
Wow.
So happy to be here with you to fight for our community. When we came out and saw our sky was orange, it was a panic time for us, wondering what's going on. And the last oversight that we had, we asked how the alert went out. And the folks that we supposed to represent the most, we say underserved community, people that have more problem to deal with in their lives. So if we can alleviate that, why not? We're supposed to send the alert to let folks know that if your health is not good, stay home and put a mask on, do something. The alert have to go on faster. So I'm so happy to be here with my colleagues to take it right on. That's what we do. We take it right on and say, this is what we need to do. We need to make sure that the community is on alert and we protect them. The air is so important. Anybody do yoga here? No yoga? No yoga? All right. So when you do yoga, the first thing they ask you to do is breathe. Take a deep breath. Can you imagine the air that you're taking in your lungs? And if you already have asthma, if you already have COPD, or any respiratory problem, the air that you breathe is so important. It's just like, I heard a joke once, we don't appreciate air that we breathe, but we don't pay for it. It's when you're sick and you're asked to take an oxygen, you see how much you have to pay for the tank, then you see how important it is for the air you breathe. So I am so pleased that we're taking the step to say that we need to know, especially in the school building, to know our children, to know exactly what's the air quality. If you're inside, let's say they tell you to go inside for better air, and then yet you don't have the best quality of air in the room. So I am pleased to say that I'm here in full support, because the air we breathe is so important. So we're going to continue to say, hold those accountable to make sure that we have the best air quality inside the school building, inside the hospital, inside the offices, and wherever we are, that we have to do better and fight for the folks that need us the most, the underserved community, the folks that are dealing with things that they're not volunteer. You don't volunteer to be sick, but it's unfortunate that you have to deal with the air quality. So thank you for being here, and thank you for an intern. Spread it out. Let us know that how we're doing, and make sure if you have ideas, bring it to the front for the CM that you work with. I'm so happy to see young folks, because tomorrow the next generation is going to be better because you're in it. Thank you so much, Aya.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you. We thank you to the chairs of both. And I think we may be joined by Chair of the Education Committee, Joseph, in a second if we are still going. I want to thank all of them for their advocacy support. I want to thank my staff. I also want to thank Borough President Levine's staff for working for almost, it feels like a year on this issue, and made more relevant by recent events in our city and our world right now.
Questions?
Yeah, no, so we'll take questions now. Any questions?
Any questions? Is Rita actually
My
coming?
smart people, my young
Any
people.
guys, any questions?
Any questions?
Yeah. I've read the article. We're going to do on-topic questions. And okay. Okay, we're doing air quality right now. This is on air quality right now, so thanks.
On air quality,
air quality legislation, thanks. Okay, thank you. Any other folks with any questions on the bills? Yeah. Can you step forward?
Step. We want to hear from you.
Yes.
So I'll let I wasn't at the hearing, but I think my colleagues are, so I'll let them answer that. These bills have been being worked on long before the hearing. The hearing yesterday obviously was talking about recent events and the city's response to that, and to evaluate how we can do a better job forward. But I don't know if any of my colleagues were there.
According to the hearing yesterday that you mentioned, they said if it's not over 200 and 208. I think the last one we have on the 6th was 218. If it's not over that, so it's only a problem for folks that are dealing with those diseases that I just mentioned. If you're already like a high risk, then it's a problem. But if you're normal, having a regular health, like you don't have no problem, no big time issue, it should be okay. All right. So yesterday I think it was 64. Today I don't know what's the number. Oops, sorry. Do I answer your question? Okay.
Yeah, I was. There was 3 committees that heard this. One of which was the health committee, which I chair, and so it was really to measure the city's response to the initial orange sky situation and see what we could do moving forward.
Thank you. We're also joined by Chair of Education Committee. Do we want to do any other questions? If not, I'll hand it over to anyone else. All right, I want to welcome my colleague, Chair of the Education Committee in the City Council. I know a lot going on today. Everybody's running around, but very grateful to have her support on these bills, and of course, have her here with us today. I want to call up the Chair, Rita Joseph.
Thank you. Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon. My name is Rita Joseph. I represent the 40th District in Brooklyn. I'm proud to stand here with my colleagues, of course, my buddy in this work, Manhattan Borough President, today as we introduce several new bills I'm sure you heard about with recent concerns about the air quality. I was one of the first people on the ground calling for them to close schools the very next day while we assessed the air qualities to make sure our students and our staff were safe going into the school. So as the chair of the committee, I know firsthand what it is to expect children to learn in a safe and clean environment, which is why I'm proud to co-sponsor Intro 1127. When this bill is passed, it's required for the health and mental hygiene to set up standards regarding air quality in schools, and would require the New York City Public Schools in collaborations with the Department of Environmental Protection to issue real-time report on the website regarding air qualities in school and installation and maintenance of air quality monitoring devices, which we're now asking for the DOE to look and make sure they're maintained, as well as annual reports regarding air quality in schools. It would also require New York City Public Schools and the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene to engage in outreach and educating us communities about air qualities in schools. So thank you so much, all of you, for being here. We will hear this again on the floor, and I'll make sure that I address it. Thank you, Borough President, for always being a partner in this great work. And thank you, my colleagues, the chair of hospitals, for always making sure the health of New York City communities are at the top of her list. Thank you for your leadership.
I love it. Well, we got a former teacher chairing the Education Committee.
Forever educator.
A forever educator. We got a forever nurse chairing the Hospitals Committee. This is what happened when you have people with real world leadership experience in charge of key committees in the City Council. I am so thrilled to be partnering with you all and with Council Members Powers and Chair Schulman. And this is going to wrap up our press conference. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.